that one, which is why I sat down. In case you're wondering what's happening right now, my name is Jenny Slate. So happy to be with you all. Thank you so much for being here tonight to watch these beautiful films. I'm going to be in discussion with the directors of this movie and also the animation director of my film, Marcel, the Shell of Shoes, which will play next. We're going to sit here and talk about how we're friends and how we like to make art, and maybe we'll answer some questions from you. I don't know if that's allowed, but I always like that. Without anything else, I guess I'll just introduce everyone. Please welcome, who wants to go first? Okay, I locked eyes with Daniel Kwan. Okay, please welcome one of the directors of this movie, Daniel Kwan. The director of animation on Marcel, the Show of Shoes on, Kirsten Lepore. Who also did visual effects on everything you were as well. And the other director of Everything Everywhere, Daniel Shiner.
Thank you so much for coming. It's been almost exactly a year since this movie first premiered at South by, and it's crazy that we're still doing screenings. It's kind of incredible. Every indie director wishes they could, or hopes that they could get a theatrical release, and we have had way too much abundance. But yeah, as Jenny was saying, the reason why we did this double feature of Everything Everywhere and Marcel is just because both of our movies were kind of worked. Like, we were both working on them for almost 6 or 7 years, side by side, sometimes in the same house. I'm married to Kirsten, and she got pulled onto Marcel.
I stole her from their marriage during my divorce. Worked out.
But so you got pulled on how long ago? This was like 8 years ago?
For Marcel?
Yeah,
2014.
2014. And so me and Dana were at the first animatic screening of Marcel. I actually worked on, I didn't remember this, but Dean Fleischer, who directed Marcel, sent a picture of me working on some of the characters.
Some of the little community
Yeah,
characters.
so apparently I am an uncredited designer for Marcel. I think Kirsten is honestly the best visual effect artist we know, and we use her in every single film we've ever done, and she always gets the hardest shots. Yeah, exactly. Well, also you've done some of the hard shots on like short films and music videos. You worked on Turn Down for What too. Like, so,
was making your thumb suck into your butt.
oh yeah.
Using her short film Interesting Balls, she did all the hardest shots.
All the butt, all the your butt stuff. They were like, we know the perfect.
Anyways, just some context. This just felt like a really great opportunity to celebrate, the fact that Jenny's in both of our films, and the fact that we really were just like a little mini co-parenting community making these movies, and the fact that they came out the same year, both came out with A24, both were nominated for an Oscar. It just doesn't make any sense, but we felt like it'd be fun to talk about it.
I think it's going to be fun to talk about it. It's already feeling great up here. I don't know how you guys are feeling. Well, I did get sent some questions to ask you guys, and I like to be obedient. But I also just picked the ones that were kind of interesting to me. Not that anyone made uninteresting questions, if any of those people aren't here. It's like asking someone to do your homework for you and then telling them that they you don't like it or something. But we all have known each other for quite a while, and I would say that although our films are different, the plots are different. We have a lot of googly eyes in common. But the films both come from a really personal place. I was wondering if you guys just wanted to start off talking about the idea for this film, anything that you want to say about why you wanted to make a movie like this.
You want to know what the most personal part of it is?
Yes.
Secret we've never talked about?
Yeah.
No, I don't have that.
say about this movie. We've been talking about it for a full year. And I feel like some of you, have you guys seen this movie before? How many people have seen it? Okay.
Wow.
But first timers, these are first time seeing it?
Yeah, we're coming out, guys. Very excited. It's very funny. I feel like both of our movies are accidentally tackling something similar, but again, from completely different angles. And it was just this feeling of feeling very isolated and strange and alone in a world of chaos and too much going on. And so this was our attempt to understand that for ourselves and figure out how we can not only survive in the chaos, but hopefully one day figure out how to thrive in the chaos, if that makes sense. But I don't think this is going to stop anytime soon. It's just the modern internet-driven experience that we have to do every single day. So that was the homework assignment. We didn't know what the answer was going to be, but it started there, and then it got way more personal as things went on because we started writing right about when Trump started primarying, and then everything started to get really personal. I feel like that moment when we all realized that Trump was going to win, like really, it just like shot some adrenaline into everyone's artwork. I feel like everyone suddenly felt like they felt called to do something to like, rather than just like scream into the void, let's actually try to,
We literally like had a writer's retreat where we sat and outlined the movie like a week before he won, and then then we kept writing after he won. And I remember like being very angry, and the first drafts being a little more angry, and then like therapeutically working through it, trying to come up with something like productive and kind and hopeful to say, in the midst of that kind of scary time.
And for you guys have actually had a really interesting writing process, and I don't know if many people know about it, but MARCEL was not written in the standard way, and I'm always curious to hear you guys talk more about that, because there's a lot of context. Obviously the divorce is part of it, but then even just the process itself is so alive and different because of I won't describe it, you describe it.
Well, also to be clear, I will say like our movie didn't like make us get divorced. We were planning on it, and our movie made us be the friends and collaborators that we are now. But I sometimes we like joke a little bit about it, but only because we ask each other if it's okay. I really would like genuinely really do not like to hurt anyone's feelings with what I create. It's like there's just so many like barbs and bristles out there generally that it's just not. Why do more? Why do more? But anyway, we wrote about a 70-page treatment, which was what we got the funding for a film with, and that's also what we used to lure Kirsten onto our project, where we didn't have like a full script. What ended up happening was that we would improvise, and then Dean Fleischer-Camp and Nick Paley, our co-writer, would listen to those hours and hours and hours of audio that we improvised off the treatment and cull that audio down to something that like made sense and where the scenes tried to work, but then it would, they would need to write into that and really reroute the plot and restructure. And we had this sort of like 3-year process of improvising, transcribing that, writing into that, and then re-recording again. This weird process of at once like expanding, letting anything happen, and then like sort of training it down, like a wild plant that would grow overnight that you like just clip it down, then like like back again and just keep clipping it down, I guess.
What did those improv sessions look like? Were you just like in a living room with microphones, or?
Yeah, we had headbands. Even the great and legendary and face of Lancome, Isabella Rossellini, had these headbands with little microphones taped to them because we like tried to place the mics here, and the sound sounded like too much in the mouth. And we recorded all in natural sound, natural spaces. So when we were in the living room, we'd be in the living room. If we were in the bathroom, we'd be in the bathroom. And when we were in the grandmother's like flower garden, we were actually at Isabella's farm that she let us go to.
Wow, where's the farm? No, never mind.
No. It's on Earth, it's on Earth. Yeah.
just find it fascinating because I think you are just one of the funniest writers that I've ever met, and the fact that like, it's so hard to capture what you do because what you do is so, I mean, even
Well, that's very nice of you to say. I'm supposed to be asking you the questions.
No, but like,
But you can say more.
even just tonight, just watching you, just like, no. It all comes out of your mouth. It's brilliant. It's all of it. And so the fact that you were able to completely retool the writing process so that you can actually capture it, I think that's the secret sauce of Marcel, is just your writing and your voice and just the weird off-the-cuff things that come out of your mouth from the perspective of that character. And so, yeah, I thought that was very fun for me to share, or at least help you share that with everyone. It's a cool process.
Well, let me counter that compliment with a question. Because I was on set, because as you saw, it was in the movie. And it's a really complicated film. And I would, imagine like it really is dizzying to think about that editing process. But one thing that was extraordinary to me was that you really did allow for a lot of improv. You came up with a lot on the spot to specify the scenes. Can you talk a little bit about like how to keep your eye on making sure you're gonna get what you need to get, and how to how do you do both at once, allow for openness and also being concise?
Yeah, it's always a conversation and a challenge because we're attracted to both of those things. Like a carefully planned, choreographed thing is so fun, and also capturing like a fleeting moment is so fun. I do, like, once we knew you were playing the character, we did, like, specifically talk about making sure those scenes had room for improv, so you probably had a different experience than some actors. Yeah, like, let's let the dog mom say whatever she wants. She wants to let dog, she says stuff, and, our character has a Bluetooth, and we're like, yeah, Jenny, talk. And then she would just say increasingly complicated, bizarre subplots about the husband and the party she's going to, and your daughter, and then they're having a fight about his pressed shirts and stuff. Like, none of that was scripted, but that's not, that was like you and Jamie Lee Curtis. Like, if we just said, go, you guys would just go, and then we would feed a lot of, we stayed close to the script with a lot of people. But yeah, it's like we have a plan, and then we change it a little, but yeah, we always talk a lot in pre-production about like what are we not gonna compromise on, what really matters about this scene, and like every day we go in knowing we might not make our shot list, and knowing which things are gonna be the ones that like, oh my god, this scene doesn't work without that.
Yeah, I think when we first met, I was firmly in the animation world. Like I thought I was gonna be an animator. I worked at DreamWorks Animation for a semester at one point. And China came from like improv background. He was mostly doing improv comedy troupe stuff, and so we had very different processes. But I think that collision is what makes our work really, at least for me, like what I'm really excited about and proud of is the fact that we can balance those two things. And then now let me segue back to your movie. One of the coolest things about, as far as like contradictions, like your film, the magic of it is like, I think only people who really understand stop motion can really appreciate it. You guys somehow managed to make a movie that was basically the most diametrically opposed styles of filmmaking. It's a documentary film, but it's all animated, and it's like a pain in the ass to actually capture. Like I saw all the technical stuff that Kirsten was doing. Do you want to talk a little bit about that? Either of you, just the fact that
Definitely,
everything
she did that. She did not.
Everything is so planned. Every little like
How much improv was there while you were there?
I mean, yeah, it's pretty pre-planned. I mean, animation in general, you kind of need to pre-edit your film before even starting a single frame of anything, even on the live action side of the shoot. And also, just to clarify, we shot the movie twice, so it was like we shot. So I'll say 3 times, because we had the animatic, like they were mentioning, which is basically, for those who don't know, it's just like the storyboards all timed out with sound and temp music. So you're basically watching the movie, but kind of like a rudimentary 2D version of it. And then that's our blueprint, and then we take that and had a proper live action shoot, but really just plates, like it's just empty scenes essentially, but beautifully lit and beautifully shot.
Yeah,
just
is
beautiful
that
house.
boring?
No, it was
No?
actually really interesting, and I was on set every day, and my job was to, I mean, I was imagining the whole thing and what it would ultimately look like. But yeah, my job was to have a literal Marcel on a stick and just be like, I think he would this much, you know, and then like, you know, then like the focus puller is just like pulling on nothing, like a dot, you know, kind of take the puppet away, and then we would get the, you know, the blank shot or whatever. But you know, then we shot the movie the third time, which was with all of the actual animation, and actually much of the live action flats and stuff. Some of those sets we even totally rebuilt to look exactly like the live action, but now they're animatable stop motion sets. So shot the whole movie, all stop motion. All this to say, it was pretty planned out, but at the same time you still have a lot of flexibility and leeway when it comes to the performances of the animators. And of course we had like Jenny's incredible performance of Marcel as, you know, our guiding light, and we always, you know, would do whatever we could to be in service to that performance. But you know, there's a lot that the animators bring to it as well. Like they'll have a lot of ideas. Dean and I would come to each of those stages and direct the animators with what we thought might be great for the scene. But you know, animators also inject their own little spontaneity and moments into it, and that's where some of the best magic happens.
But then I feel like some of the crazy stuff is like, you guys are about to watch it, I don't want to spoil it, but the camera work is so naturalistic, but like to do handheld with stop motion requires, you guys had to test out all this new camera technology in our front yard, like you guys brought in a bunch of camera companies with like motion control and crazy like AR tracking devices, like it was.
And neither of those can
Exactly. It worked. But I like there's a shot in the
You
car.
didn't use motion control. What did you use?
Well, we did use motion control. What he's talking about is, it was like encoded camera heads that were actually, like as you're shooting, it's capturing like the three-dimensional data in physical space. That didn't work out. But we used, honestly, just a range of techniques to try to keep this kind of naturalistic roving documentary camera as authentic looking as possible. That was like really our key word with everything that Dean was trying to do in his vision for the movie. Is like, it has to look authentic, it has to be as real as
Which is
possible.
like the fucking hardest thing to do with stop
Yeah,
motion.
it's not much, it's not made for that.
There's a shot in a car that where you know, Marcel's on the dashboard and the car is just taking a turn and the lighting is doing one of these things, you know, and it's
The sun direction changes.
it is like one of the most technically challenging things in the whole movie, and it's just like whatever. You're like it's just, it feels so real. That's the thing.
Well, that's what the live action
Yeah.
plate looked like.
Yeah.
And then, you know, there's trees that are blocking the sun, so every frame is like flickering and there's shadows coming in and changing. And then, you know, fast forward to like what it looked like on the stop motion stage, and literally there's like 3 different motion control rigs, some holding lights, some holding like cookies, cuckolorses to block the light, and everything's
Just for a little show.
like,
Yeah.
just like a bunch of like crazy machines like moving around.
So
All
anyways, I
over,
just wanted to call out that
Yeah.
like it's that tension is so wonderful.
The
So
build-up.
it's what we're always searching for. It's like these opposites. How can we? What does it look like when we try to put them together? Yeah.
And the other thing I'll say is like, neither one of these films had like a massive amount of monetary resource. Like, you know, there was a lot of just like being scrappy, and I think that has kind of been not like looked down upon or something, but it's like something that like that's what the like students do or something. But in fact, to like have your hands on what you're doing and really be required to do that, and also like you're catching me in the middle of like a chat GPT panic. Like I feel like those people will ever write an essay again or something. I just found out what it was and like what? Scares me so much. But I think that like when you're on a set and like you're all waiting around together and you're all like in the case of our set, like when like sometimes I would be, you know, sitting on the floor or whatever, so the eye line would be right for like, you know, for if they were gonna, there's like I don't want to spoil anything actually, but I guess I just bring it up to say that like there is all of that all of the effects that like go into these movies, but for some reason what the three of you haven't mentioned yet, I feel like it's just like how much spirit is in it, how much performance you all did within the effects that you created and the direction that you did, and like especially one thing that you said to me, I don't know, a few weeks ago, was that somebody says that animators are performers who are shy. And it really like made me want to just like wake up every day and like call Kirsten and just be like, thank you, thank you, thank you. Because sometimes I watch our movie and the way that Marcel himself moves is so real and so completely fused to the emotions that I kind of forget that it wasn't my body. Even though I am a human woman. I don't know where we are for time, and should we ask a question or should we leave, or what are we supposed to do? Ask a question. Okay. Does someone?
Perfect blue, all of it. It's like, that's one of the most perfect filmographies of any filmmaker. Partially because there's only like 4 or 5 movies, but still every single one is a banger. And it's also like we're not the first live action filmmakers to like really, wear his influence on our stage. Like I know Christopher Nolan, obviously with Inception was a big part of it. Getting animosity, there's like a couple of shots where people are like, did you just rip that off from Satoshi Kon? Like, yeah, okay, I see the side by sides, but like I think a lot of filmmakers are really drawn to his work because he manages to warp reality in just these beautiful poetic ways that only you could do in animation. And I think one of the things that me and Sharon are getting a kick out of is trying to take ideas that should be animated and see what would that look like with a low budget indie film. I don't know. And so yes, Satoshi Kon is amazing.
Yeah, and I'll just add on to that, another reason that we became friends with Kirsten is like when we first met, they had just introduced me to the world of indie animation, and like just we've always drawn so much inspiration from animators, and sometimes people are like, your movies are so weird, and we just kind of are like, have you watched anime? Like our movies are but it's such a fun thing to draw inspiration from a slightly different art form.
I mean, a lot of people point out that the rock scene in our movie is probably very heavily influenced by Kirsten's.
Yes, that's Kirsten.
Everybody thinks I did it. Right?
Yeah.
That's so handsome.
No, we just stole that from you guys. If you haven't seen her movie, she did a little short film called Boggle, which is just an animated sand guy and an animated snow guy, and it's like exquisite. It's real snow, real sand, and it doesn't make any sense how you could even pull it off, but it's so simple and beautiful.
I met one of my filmmaking heroes, humble brag, one of these cool events we get to go to, and he was like, how did you animate the rocks? And I was like, awesome, so excited to tell him that it was just me pushing a rock with a stick. We took the stick out. We did the 4-man stop motion, because we had patience for what Kirsten does.
Another question.
Yes. I've never been in one, so I'd love to do more.
Which artists would you do? Top 3. Okay, we'll come back to you.
It sounds like it's a 2-parter. Hold on.
Yeah, that was kind of a joke. What was the hardest thing to translate from the script to the actual shooting process that it made so much sense in your brain, but you needed to make it make sense on the screen?
Yeah, I have a kind of boring answer. There's so many, but like every time we write something, every time we make movies, it's the most annoyingly simple seeming thing that ends up like taking up a lot more time than I want it to, and I start getting really grumpy and like, why are we still talking about that? And so one of them is like they walk in the lobby, they go through a metal detector, and they go to an elevator. Like and they look over the bathroom door, and there's a couple there. Like that scene on the page was like less than a page, like 3/4. And we couldn't find, the building didn't have a lobby like that, and we scouted more lobbies, and we shot listed, and we talked about building things, and like, we talked about that little page so much, and our production designer ended up building a dummy wall going into fake bathrooms, that way we could get it done, but it was like a big fight between like Dan and Larkin wanted to do a big company move to another prettier lobby, and I was like, that's gonna cost so much money, like, let's stay in this building. Anyway, it's such a weird thing with live action in particular.
Yeah,
Like,
the other one is the opening shot with the mirror. That took a lot of work. It just like,
it sounded simple, we're like, oh cool, a quick visual effect, go through a mirror, but oh my god, we talked about that mirror so much.
Weird shit sometimes, and like, I'm afraid to show it to them.
I love this question. I thought you were asking about like work-life balance at first. Maybe like when your mom watches your weird movie. No, that was like the inspiration for this whole movie. Joe is like our music videos incarnate. Like
it's just us, yeah.
Yeah,
It's
that's
us.
that. And when Michelle is like, "What's wrong with you? You look stupid." That's our parents' reaction to our music videos. Yeah, I think we're actually kind of cowardly about having difficult conversations with our family, and sometimes I feel
Art
like
is so much easier.
yeah, sometimes making art is
Yeah.
like a conversation starter, and it's like after the art comes out that you actually have to talk about like why I made this, and it's kind of, it can be kind of beautiful, you know, but challenging.
In some ways, the reason why we felt comfortable making this movie is just because over the course of our careers, our parents would see something we did. You know, we did Turn Down for What, which was just like so stupid, just like. And when I talked to my mom after it came out, she's like, I saw it. I'm very technically impressed, but I think you should read more books. But then slowly what happened was, you know, like my mother saw the reaction that the world had. We ended up getting nominated for a Grammy. She got to go to the Grammys with me for that video. And my mom was kind of like slowly had to have her like, her mind expanded a little bit to leave room for me and my work, if that makes sense. And so she slowly over the course of like the 10, 12 years that we've been working together, has been slowly leaving a little bit more room for me. And this film is sort of like a very, hopefully a gracious portrayal of a mother who is learning to slowly open up her mind a little bit more to accept the complete person that her daughter is. And the film is meant to show how hard that is. It is, you literally have to have your mind exploded just to have this little extra space for them. Yeah, it's a great question, and I feel like we're still figuring it out. My mom doesn't understand everything everywhere, really. Like, she's still going through this process. 11 nominations, and she was like, does it really need 11 though? So yeah, I mean, your parents are actually way like a little too open. I think they like.
My mom's favorite show is South Park and has been forever. So kind of a head scratcher.
So yeah, you've never scared her off. It's like, do you have this issue with parents and stuff? Because your stuff can be pretty intense.
Yeah. I mean, my parents have only seen me do stand up, I think, live, like, maybe once. I feel like I've been working in secret. I really don't, I guess if they were to come and watch me, I would just have to sort of soldier through, but the one time I can remember them coming to watch my stand up, which was like, that was like over a decade ago in Brooklyn. I like tried to tell a joke literally about like taxes, because I was like, I don't have anything appropriate to hear.
So that's the answer to your question. We're all cowards.
Yeah, that's my stand-up special. I was like, I guess I'll just put them in it. And I did.
You really got it in there.
Yeah, I got them in there, rather than, I often will go the complete opposite direction.
What's it called again?
What's that?
What's the special called?
It's called Stage Fright.
Stage Fright. On
Yeah,
Netflix.
it's on Netflix, you can watch it. It has my grandmother's in it, one of them who's named Anna Connie, who is the name of that same character in Marcel, which I guess you don't have to watch. Yeah,
Very inspired by both Dean and James Franco.
that's true.
All bananas.
What do you think? Do we have time for one more, or do I? Okay.
I just want to know from writer's perspective, like you get stuck in a creative rut, like what should writers like try to do writer's block? Like do you happen to have that in the process, or?
It's a question about writer's block. How do we get through it? That's a good.
I feel blocked. I think like still feel like he's more of a conventional writer than I am, where he'll go away by himself and come back with something pretty good. And I'm just like, oh, anyway, here's the outline. I just outline a lot. But I feel like what keeps us going is like, we kind of see storytelling as problem solving, and so like, it's not a blank sheet of paper once we know what the goal is and what the problem is we're trying to solve. And so we kind of, once we get those flags planted, there's no writer's block from then on, because like we can always look at it and try to fix it and figure out what's missing and kind of like just talk about a character. And so it's not like it's not the blank sheet of paper problem from the movies that you see where the writer's the typewriter.
Yeah, it's never usually that, but I do think it is so important to allow randomness and chaos into your life at a pretty even clip throughout. You know, every day just try to find time for that. If that makes sense, like you know, every time I read a book or I watch something or I'm just like scrolling on Instagram, it's all being filtered through the filter of whatever movie we're writing, and so every single thing's collide with a movie idea, and you never know what's going to unlock something.
Yeah, it's scary sometimes. You're like, no, Dan, don't watch that movie.
I love it. I love the chaos. You're playing slot machines with the universe. You're like, okay, maybe one thing is going to really knock something out. And I'm always looking for, even if I don't have writer's block, I'm always just like hoping to find extra goodies to kind of inform the work. So I think that's really useful. And the worst case scenario, we usually just go for a walk. Like we're very mobile writers. Like just
Or go to those public workout gyms.
Yeah.
Rip it up.
Yeah, we swole together.
Right. But I think physicality and something like that, it's all, you gotta help the subconscious, free up some time for the subconscious. So like walking, taking showers, all that stuff. Anyways, do you have an answer?
You know, I sometimes I just read, like sometimes I get away and I read a lot. I read a lot of fiction that is not in the style of, or even oftentimes in the century of the thing that I'm trying to write or create. But the other thing, like what blocks me is that I'm highly critical. I'm the one artist that's that way. My struggle, my beautiful special struggle. But like the worst part about my criticism is that it in itself is so dumb. Like the voice that it is not like, it's not an elegant voice. It's just like, this is bad. This is bad. This is embarrassing. This is nothing. I hate this. I hate this. I'm mad at you for this is bad. And like it's just that. And what I do now is very odd, but to avoid just abandoning the computer or the page, I've started to describe self-portraits of myself in the moment, or just do anything, like write down anything that you like. What is it? What is a description of something you would like to eat? Like sometimes I literally like edge myself out of a weird stasis by describing a room that does not exist, but that's filled with cabinets that have neatly folded linens in them. It'll take like 2 hours. If anyone ever finds this stuff, it's gonna be like I don't know, like remember when they found Henry Darger's like really crazy like masterpieces, like his murals, and it was like a 1,000-page tome of like, you know, I don't know, like they're nothing, no one can read them, but I love making them and they make me feel so good. And then usually after I'm done, I have proved to myself that my brain works and I exist and I can go and like finish the thing. But that's a weird tool that I don't know if would work for everyone. So thank you all for watching Everything Everywhere All at Once and staying for this conversation. And Kirsten and I now are here just to introduce the film that we made. Yeah. Oh, is that true?
Yeah.
Okay, well you'll see us again, so I hope that's okay.
Hi all. Hello again if you were just here. even if you did not just watch our movie, okay, we won't repeat ourselves. As you know, we love Marcel. I loved the shorts. I was one of those people writing comments that you'll see in the movie back when I was in college.
But yeah, I think this movie is incredible because it does so much of what we did, but in such a quieter, simpler way. Which is, I always think minimalism, it takes so much more confidence and so much more tact. I feel like what we do is like a lot of like shotgun blasts, and what this movie does is it's very much like a very gentle scalpel. Maybe
Cup of tea.
A cup of tea. That's maybe that's better.
Awesome flower.
And so both of our films are dealing with family and loss and community, and I just felt like it would be a really nice way to end the night after our films and watch this incredible movie that
hopefully
friends and family.
Hopefully our movie primed you to believe that kindness can make a difference in the world, and now you can watch a movie that's just all about kindness. Without further ado, as you know, two of our absolute favorite artists in the world are here. Kirsten Lepore, stop motion animator, super genius, writer, director, not just animation director, look up all her shit. And Jenny Slate, the funniest person on earth. Let's go!
Thanks, Daniel and Daniel. Thanks for staying to watch our movie. And Jenny.
And Kirsten.
I think we should begin the film, but just thank you so much for being here. We did try to make a movie that would be like a hospitable space for as many people as possible. I like to try to describe it as like, well, if you could make a movie that was like a beautiful public park where like you would enjoy it if you were very old, you would enjoy it if you were a very young baby, anywhere in between, and if there was someone you loved, you would bring them there.